Okay, so we talked about flow time. Now we're going to go into capacity calculation. Okay, so the same process that we can look at, and we can look at two different measures. Flow time, as we saw in previous videos, is the time from the beginning to the end, how long it takes for a product or a person to go to all the process steps until the end. Okay, and capacity is how many I can do per hour or per day or per year per month, right? So the maximum amount I can produce in a certain interval of time. And again, you can remember some of those calculations for previous core operations management courses, right? So it's important to understand different types of capacity. Okay, we're going to talk about theoretical, the effective, the process capacity, and the throughput. Okay, so the theoretical capacity, imagine that's the maximum amount that I can produce, right? That's the concept of capacity, right? What is capacity? Capacity is the maximum amount that I can produce in a certain interval of time. If it's like a glass or a bottle, is the maximum amount that I can fit. If it's into that space, right? If it's the stadium, is the maximum amount of people that I can put there. If it's inside the classroom, is the maximum amount that I can put people inside a classroom, right? So we know that that's the top, okay? And the theoretical capacity is basically, in a perfect environment where nothing happens, right? But everything occurred, in a way that is just textbook example or, fairy tale example, right? What are we technically able to do? And so let's take a look at example. Let's say that one washing machine takes 1 hour to wash a load and works 10 hours per day, each load of 20 clothes, and we have two machines, right? So we're going to take two machines. We're going to take 10 because that's 10 per day, right? I can do 10 loads per day because it's 1 hour, 10 hours at work. And each load has 200 clothes, 20 clothes, right? So I know that each equipment can do 10 times 20, which is 200. If I have two equipment, two times that, it is 400, okay? But what reality happens, and reality is, it's a bitch, right? I don't know if I can say that, but it's tough, right? So let's say that I have here a resource not being available, already planned for, like corrective maintenance that I have to do, some cleaning, shift change, whatever it is, about 60 minutes per day, right? So my effective capacity was 400. I knew that. But then I have to take this out, this 60 minutes, right? And there are a few different ways to do that. But here, what I'm doing is I'm taking the total available time, which is 600 minutes, because it's 10 hours times 60 minutes, minus the this time that's not going to be available. So 600 minus 60 and divided by the 600. So it's going to give me the percentage of time that I have available. Okay, in this case is 90% of the time. I can also think that 60 minutes is going to be three loads in one equipment and three loads in the other equipment and get to the same result, right? But I just give multiply by the percentage of time that I have available, which is 90%, and then multiply by 400. So I know that because of these planned stop times here, I'm only going to be able to produce 300 or clean 360 clothes. But on top of that, this was the things that I planned to happen. On top of that, I have other things that happen, like starving or blocking or unplanned setup times or other things that I don't know, lack of information, or just the operator was distracted and the equipment just stopped and stuff like that. So that's other things happen about 30 minutes a day. Again, I do the same math to have the percentage here, and now we're about 340 clothes per day because I lost two loads here in this process. So, one load in this because it was 30 minutes a day. So now I know that my process capacity is actually 340, and then when I look, okay, so I expect to be 340 every day, right? But I collect the data about the how much I'm producing every day, how many clothes are getting out, and actually it's 300, right? Which is actually the throughput time, right? So remember, we started at 400, now we're 300 because we lose time for a bunch of things. A million different things happen, and our process does not produce as it is expected, right? Because again, reality happens, shit happens, and then your machine stops because it's too fast, or you have maintenance problems, oil leakage, the operator went to the restroom, whatever thing you can imagine. I've saw it in reality, right? I saw an operator reading a newspaper in the middle of the shop floor during production time. So, I've seen a lot, and those things will happen, right? So, I'm just going to kind of help you guys visualize a little bit. So that's what that table is showing us, right? So, although our theoretical capacity, and let's say that these are units, right? This is the quantity. So these are units that it can produce per day. And here is my theoretical capacity is 400. Now my core capacity is 360. My process capability is 340, and when I get to the actual production, or my throughput, is about 300, right? Per day, right? So all of this I'm actually losing because of planned or unplanned stoppage that I have, like setup and maintenance and starving, and don't have any parts, or don't know what to do, and blah blah blah, right? So in this case, right, if you take 300 and divide it by 400, it gives you about 25% of time that you're losing, right? And give you only 75% of actually process efficiency, right? So how efficient you're being with this process, you're only producing 75% of the time. 25% of the time you're not producing because of all the waste and other problems that you have in the process. So this is kind of the important notion in capacity. And then you have kind of another slide that kind of explain and go a little bit further on that, but with some examples.